Hello and welcome back to Tidbit of Torah. If you're like me, you're always wishing we had a little bit more time. Oh, if only I had an extra hour. Oh, if only I had an extra day in the week. But what if you had an extra month? What would you do with all that time? The truth is, in the Jewish calendar, we do. This year, in particular, in 7 out of the next 19 years, we get a whole second month of Adar in our calendar. And it's not just any leap month that we add to the Jewish calendar. It's Adar, the month that we talk about how our joy increases when we reach this month. We could have had 2 Yom Kippurs, an extra fast day someplace else, but no, we have the month of joy that we get to add to our lives. What a gift. Well, what's going on here and why 7 out of the next 19 years and why a leap month? Let's geek out a little bit and get into the math. Well, Judaism is mostly a lunar calendar, and a lunar calendar only has 354 days. So in order to better align with the solar calendar, which has, of course, 365 days, we have to add 11 extra days. And the way it works out, by adding seven years worth of an extra month, 7 times 30 is 210 days. And that 210 days makes up the difference between a lunar calendar and a solar calendar to make things work out. Well, why do we even need to work things out in any way? Why not just follow a strictly lunar calendar? Well, the reason is because many of the Jewish holidays align to different seasons. There is a certain agricultural element and a seasonality to the Jewish holidays that we want to preserve. And so by adding this leap month in, we're able to keep the holidays at a consistent time of the year. Okay, so we add in every 7 out of 19 years, we add in a second Adar, but how does that work? And where does that affect where Purim comes? Well, what it basically means is slipping in a first month of Adar before the second quote unquote sort of real month of Adar ends up becoming Adar 2. What do I mean by that? I mean the major holiday in Adar is Purim, a time of joy when we celebrate how through the leadership of Queen Esther and Mordechai, the Jews were saved from the terrible genocidal plots of Haman in Persia. Well, this holiday, which is one that we celebrate with many mitzvot, many commandments, giving gifts to the poor, gifts to our friends, reading out of a scroll, the history, the book of Esther from this holiday, and having a big su'udah, a big meal, we do that actually in Adar 2. And why do we do that in Adar 2 and not in the first month of Adar? Because there is a fixed amount of days, a 1 month period that we want between Purim until the next major holiday in the Hebrew month of Nisan, which is, of course, Passover or Pesach in Hebrew. That 30-day period between Purim and Passover is a time of physically cleaning out our homes, cleaning out all the leavened bread, the chametz, but also spiritually cleaning out all the shmutz, the chametz, the inflated ego, the things that are getting way out in our lives spiritually and emotionally, so that we can be present, so that we can revisit that true process of moving from slavery to liberation, the Exodus, revisiting it amongst the Israelites, but also revisiting that sense of regaining our own freedom and being architects for our own freedom and that of others. And that period of 30 days is somehow the right container, a 1 month period of time for that process. Perhaps it's like a deadline for work. Anything project that seems to last multiple months sometimes can feel like too long of a time period in order to really dive into the weeds and get stuff done. So as a result, we celebrate Purim in the second month of Adar. And so what do we do in the first month of Adar? We celebrate a holiday that very few know about and really isn't a whole lot of a holiday, which is called Purim Katan, which means little Purim. What do we do on Purim Katan? We treat it as a day of joy. It's a day where we don't eulogize. It's a day where we don't say penitential prayers. It's a day where maybe like Rabbi Yechiel of Paris, we make a large feast, maybe treat ourselves to a latte, invite friends over, on a nice hike, or something that brings like a belly laugh level of joy to our lives and that we can share with others. Maybe it's a great volunteer day at the food bank or one of your favorite agencies. What does all this matter? Why lots of numbers and months and things? Well, I think it really comes down to something that Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said, which is that Judaism is a religion of time, a sanctification of time. As we have this extra month of Adar, it's an invitation and an opportunity for us to bring joy and holiness into our lives. As we read in this week's Torah portion, Parshat Truma, make for me a mikdash, a holy sanctuary in time and perhaps in space, so that I may dwell among them. That is the instructions that God gives the Israelites in this wilderness period. And I think those instructions still really speak to us today. May we find a way to create a sanctuary of time in our relationships and encounters, in our transition moments where maybe we can slow down a little bit, or maybe even just giving ourselves the time to look up and out with awe into this world and into the souls of one another. I hope that you have an extra joyful Adar this year and a Shabbat Shalom.